I planned a surprise date for my wife but saw a stranger's truck parked outside our house. I quietly recorded her cheating. My parents live about an hour and a half away from us, and I arranged for the kids to stay with them for the weekend. Usually when I go to my parents I am gone until later in the evening. We spend all day there and leave around dinner time. This time I was dropping the kids off and immediately going home so I could surprise my wife and we could go out as soon as possible. I had made reservations at a nice restaurant and was hoping to go to a few places for some drinks first. I left at 8:30 and was back in our housing plan before 12:30. As I pulled onto my street I saw a truck parked in front of my house. I did not recognize it. I assumed it was someone seeing the neighbors though, because it's not that unusual for someone to park in front of our house. I parked a few houses away thinking I would sneak into the house and surprise my wife, instead of pulling in the driveway and going in the garage. I went in through a basement door. I was as quiet as possible, but as soon as I walked in I heard her making sounds from the floor above. When I first heard it I thought she was just by herself, maybe having some personal time. I didn't want to interrupt her privacy and embarrass her, so I was going to go back to my car and just go in the garage so she would know I was home. Then I heard a man's voice. I immediately felt sick. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. It is hard to describe how I felt in this moment. I decided to go upstairs. I had no desire to confront them. I just wanted to see what was going on. I moved slowly and quietly and went up the stairs. The door was halfway open. The kitchen was empty, but I could tell they were in the living room. It was obvious what was going on at this point by the sounds. There was no way for me to look in the living room without them seeing me. I pulled out my phone and opened my camera app. I put my phone just around the corner of a wall. This part is so hard to write. I could see my wife with a man I didn't recognize. I won't go into detail on what they were doing, but I think you can figure it out. I started recording it. I was thinking that I needed a record of it for whatever I decided to do in the future. I just stood there in my kitchen, watching this all unfold on my phone screen. I felt like I could just scream at any moment, but for some reason I just froze completely. This went on for several minutes. She finally jumped off of him and made a comment about going to the bedroom, and they went upstairs. She even made a comment about how much time they had left. I walked into the living room and found the guy's pants. I took his wallet out and took pictures of his driver's license. I know his name and his address now. I've never met him. I have no idea how my wife knows him. I left the house the same way I entered. I went back to my car and cried like the pathetic man I am. I decided to watch the video to make sure it recorded. I watched it all. I'll spare the details, but I sat in my car for at least half an hour. I couldn't drive to my parents and get the kids as I would have to explain why. I decided that I would pull in the driveway, open the garage, and just pretend like I was there to surprise her. I took my time getting into the house. I made a lot of noise. When I saw her she was very flustered, asking me why I was home, etc. She was in a robe and said she was just getting ready for a bath. I told her about my plans and she seemed excited. She poured us both a glass of wine and said we should pre-game before getting ready. I don't think I talked much really. She took me into the living room. I'm not proud of what I let happen. I could faintly see the guy sneaking downstairs and going to the basement stairs, but I didn't say or do anything. I just let my wife continue doing what she was doing to me. Since that day, I have watched the video of her repeatedly. I can't bring myself to make any decisions on what I should do next. She seems to know something is wrong with me because she's asked a few times if I'm okay. I feel worthless, and every time I hit a low point I watch that video again. I feel like I've watched it at least 10 times a day since I caught them. Comments big if. There are 2 things you should not do in this situation. 1. Don't look for revenge against her and or the guy. It'll just hurt you more and worst case, put you in jail. 2. Don't let her hurt you like this again, because if you stay with her she will. Oop, I have spent multiple hours looking up this guy. And so considering options from the alt. Sup, Kilda Fragmatron. So what happened to his pants and truck? He run out without his pants. What did wife say about the truck in the driveway? Wife kick his pants under the couch. Oop, his truck was on the street. I don't know where the clothes went to, but I assume she panicked as soon as she heard the garage open. Kilda Suga Suga so, op, I'm a bit confused here. You were still able to go through with your plan to take her out on a surprise date, and were able to look her in the face, eat dinner and act like there's nothing wrong. Oop, not really. We didn't stay out late and went home early. She asked a few times if something was wrong. I tried getting drunk to get through it, but was just too hard. Update 1, July 13th, 2024. I stopped watching the video after reading all the comments on my first post. It has helped clear my mind and allowed me to focus on next steps. This has allowed me to be mostly back to my normal self for both my kids and my job. I have gone through my wife's phone and found nothing. I searched the guy's name from the driver's license. I figured out how they met. He's a landscaper. She was calling some a few months ago to clean up our yard, and ended up getting some mulching and clean up done. I've driven past his house many times. I think he is single as I couldn't find any records of other people living at that address. I've only seen a truck parked in the driveway when I have driven by. I have been avoiding my wife after the kids are in bed to try to limit one-on-one time. I don't want any awkward conversations and I also don't want to have sex. I have mostly been successful with this, but did slip up one night when I had a little too much to drink. I hated myself for it the next day. I don't believe she has seen him since the day I caught them. I've been paying attention any time she's gone. I obviously can't track her 100%. I've read about Apple AirTags, but I use Android. I'm guessing any app I would put on her phone may be discovered. I have installed a doorbell camera on our house though, so I can always see the street. When I did this, my wife didn't say anything. We continue to do things as a family as we normally would. I have done my best to not let her know what I know, and to continue to be a good dad to my kids. The weird thing I'm dealing with now is that she's planned a night out with a friend for drinks. It's a friend from work, so I don't know her at all and I'm not connected with this person on social media. When she told me, I made up some excuse about work and said I couldn't watch the kids. She ended up getting our neighbor to agree to babysit. Now I'm debating if I should follow her to really see if she's meeting her friend or the guy. It seems like I'm heading towards a confrontation either way when I just want everything to go back to normal. I'm going to leave my house soon and pretend to be going to work. I'll probably just go to a bar to kill time until I can drive by the place she's supposed to be going to. I'm filled with fucking dread about all of this. Update 2, July 20th, 2024. I've had so many messages asking how I am doing that I felt I should probably post an update. On the night when she was going out with her friend, I still pretended I had work and left the house after the babysitter arrived. I went to a bar and had a few drinks. Then I drove over to the restaurant she said she was going to. I saw her car in the parking lot. I'm not going to lie, I was on edge and incredibly nervous despite the drinks earlier. I was so worried I would walk in and see her with that guy. I was hoping to sneak in and get a look without being seen, but that failed miserably. She saw me as soon as I walked in the door. She was with her friend and not the guy. We had the "what are you doing here? Thought you were working" expected conversation. I told her work ended early, so I wanted to stop by to say hi, since we had a babysitter. I left after a couple drinks and went home to relieve the sitter. So many of you have commented on my last post that I need to confront her, and I decided in that moment that I would. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I got the kids to bed and waited for her to come home. I watched the video again to remind myself of what happened. When she got home, she was surprised I was still up and apparently could tell from the way I looked that something was wrong. I poured it all out on her. It probably wasn't fair of me. I didn't even let her sit down. I told her everything. I played part of the video to show her what I saw. I called her some harsh names, said she ruined our lives. In that moment, I was incredibly angry. She was very upset, heavily crying and shaking. She told me how terrible she felt about everything that happened. I told her she had to tell me everything that happened with that guy, and she laid it all out. She cheated on me twice with him. After the time I saw them, she cut things off because she knew it was wrong, and she loves me. I asked her for proof, but she said she had already deleted and blocked him on her phone, Facebook and Instagram. She did tell me that he is single and knew she was married. She asked me to delete the video, but I refused. She asked me why, and I really didn't have a reason other than I feel I need to hold on to it for now. She got a little angry at that and asked if I was keeping it to watch again. It was very late at this point, so we decided to go to bed or more the next day when we had more time to think. She continued to apologize repeatedly for what she did. We slept separately that night. Over the next few days, things between us seemed better. I felt some relief that it was all out in the open now. We have continued to talk, and it feels like we are on a path of staying together and moving past this. I have made it clear that she is never to see or talk to that guy again. While things feel like they are improving, I am still struggling to trust her. Worse yet is that I have a trip coming up for work, and I'll be gone for a few days. I've told her that I am not comfortable with leaving right now, but I can't skip this trip. My boss made it clear that I'm needed. She said I could put cameras up in the house to keep an eye on her if it would make me feel better, and sadly I may do that. I'll be gone for at least 3 days. Overall, things are okay. Kids are oblivious that anything is going on, and it seems that slowly my wife and I will eventually get back to normal. I hope so, at least. I'm a little ashamed to admit that I have watched the video a few times since all of this. I'm thinking that I should probably delete it so it's gone from my life. I don't know what's wrong with me. Comments, Flynn_Gem. I remember your first post. Did she say how it went from yard work to him in your bed? What was the development? Oop, she did. He came to the door to ask to wash his hands in the laundry sink. They struck up a conversation. He came out again to finish up the work and they got to talking again. They already had each other's phone numbers, and she said some texts were exchanged, and she basically made up work for him to come out a third time. That third time led to her cheating. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Hubby ignored my requests for dates for a year. Now he wants to go out every week, only to make videos for his business. My husband John, 25M, fake name, and I, 26F, have been married for over 2 years, and dated for about 3 years before that. Overall, we have a generally healthy relationship with good communication. When we first got married, we used to go on lots of dates, not necessarily anything big, sometimes just coffee or a drive, but we went out of our way to get out of the house together for quality time. As time has passed, I have taken on more freelance work, keeping me busier, and he started saying that he's just too tired or doesn't feel like getting ready to go out after work or on his days off. Up until now, I haven't had an issue with that. He does work a lot, and I don't blame him at all, but here's where things have changed. A couple of months ago, he got really interested in digital marketing, basically selling products online. He bought an expensive course to help him learn, and has started trying to consistently post 3 times a day in order to build a following on a new Instagram account. So he's really putting a lot of work into this. I'm not holding my breath that it will work out for several reasons that I won't get into here, unless you want them, but I've never discouraged him from doing it. When he gets stressed, I encourage him. I tell him often that I'm proud of all his hard work, I am, etc. I only mention that to say that I'm not against him trying this out, and haven't put him down for it ever. But this is why I've gotten a little sad. Last week we went on a cute date after he got off work on Saturday, and I loved it. We laughed and talked, and generally had a great time like those first dates after getting married. While we were on the date, I had an idea for a cute reel that took maybe 5 minutes to record, and then I put my phone away for the rest of the time. When we got home, I created and posted the reel, adding him as a collaborator with his new digital marketing Instagram account. At his request, I guess he's gotten advice to post real-life things, not just videos trying to sell. No biggie, I didn't mind. Well, since I already have a following small, but bigger than his, that reel did better than any of the other ones on his account. Great, we both thought. But now he's asked to go on a small date every Saturday. At first I was so happy. I'd love to get back to our regular dates, but then he said it would be so that we could get content for his page. He asked if I could be a collaborator on all or most of the posts, but if he could post them himself so he gets the credit for the engagement. I guess all the views/likes/etc don't actually bump his page analytics since I was the one who created the post. I'm feeling hurt because for over a year, he hasn't shown much interest in taking me out. Now all of a sudden, because he needs content and saw how I could help his view count go up, he want to go on dates though. I guess I'm just feeling used and like I'm not any kind of a priority. I feel like the dates won't even count as actual dates because he's not asking to go out to spend time with me. I do want to reiterate that I'm not opposed to him doing this side job, and I'm not even opposed to helping him or collaborating on Paysha, though I'd prefer not to do it every week. I'm actually really happy, whether or not it works out as a moneymaker, that he's just putting a lot of effort into something that excites him. I haven't seen him this into anything maybe ever. I'm asking for advice because I don't know if I should bring this up to him or not, and if I do, what should I say? The last thing I want to do is make him feel bad or discourage him in his new endeavor. Should I just be grateful to be going on dates again? Am I being selfish? Thanks for all any advice, and sorry if this is very long. Edit. Because so many people are getting hung up on the double standard of me making content on the date, but not wanting him to. I just want to clarify that I'm not a content creator by any means. I asked if he'd want to do this reel and he said yes. And it's not a regular thing as I don't post much. To me the difference here is that the whole point of these dates moving forward will be to get content, and for him it will be work, where for me it was just a fun thing for us. Maybe this doesn't make a difference, but that's just how I see it in my head. Comments. Away_grapefruit 4297. So he is in and mem, and he admitted that his wanting to go out with you is to support his cultish business rather than because he values the time. That hurts. I get it. I'm sorry. I do want to say that these companies/opportunities/MLMs are very scripted, high pressure and designed to make people think, if they fail they are at fault, despite the actual setup being a massive reason for the failure. They literally borrow cult tactics in order to prey on people. I think you should talk about your feelings, but I also think you should tread lightly because the whole system is designed for him to be defensive if you bring up reason. It's part of the gig. There is lots of Hughes, I'm sorry. Hilda. Caroline Secura. How about you tell him how you feel and that a date is a date or reels are for work. If he wants to go on dates just to get views, those can be only 1 on 5 dates if you're comfortable with even that. Communicate. Update. August 20th, 2024. So, first of all, thank you to the vast majority of you who are logical and kind. Anyways, here's what I ended up doing. Many of the comments said that the best thing to do was probably just take the win and find the good in my situation, but if it's really bothering me, to bring it up to John the first honestly didn't want to, but I didn't want to be upset on every date either, so I decided to give it a trial run and see how I felt after. I waited 2 weeks to make a decision, and chose to go ahead and mention it to him. For those of you who think I'm some dramatic witch whose husband can never do enough to make her happy, I told him. I was sure how I felt wasn't how he intended to come across, but then explained what I had been thinking. Sure enough, as many of you said, he was just killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I told him I was totally fine creating content on our dates, but I just didn't want to feel like that was why we were on a date. He said that he understood and would be careful about it, and that if I was bothered or wanted to have a no-content date, to just let him know. So, that's the good part. The next part was a little tougher. For the advice of a couple of you with either digital marketing or MAM experience, I had the tough pyramid scheme talk. I told him before, during, and after this conversation that no matter what he chooses to do, I will support him and help him. But I also explained to him a few things. How the marketing was misleading, how most people lose money instead of making it, how they will try to keep trying to get him to spend more money to make it work, etc. I also suggested that he track his hours of learning, content creating and posting, so that even if he does start making sales, he can decide if the time is worth the payout. I probably mentioned other things as well, but I don't remember what if so. I have always been very anti-MLM and like to think I know a lot about it, so I just tried to give him all the basic info in a kind way. After all that, I told him if he wanted to keep trying, I was for it as long as he doesn't invest any more money before he makes some. I also told him how I was so proud of all the work he put into his side hustle so far, and how I loved that he was excited about it, how he's been getting up early to work out because of it. He will record parts of his runs/stretches/etc., but actually does a full workout or run, and I love how it's energized him. Understandably, he was a little sad and quiet, but he understood everything and wasn't mad at all. This was all last night, and he was totally back to normal before bed, and he's continued posting today, so I guess I didn't hurt his feelings or discourage him like I thought I might. That's the whole reason I waited so long, but I guess it would have been fine all along. I am looking forward to our weekly dates, and to the fact that we will be able to look back and remember them all since we will have videos from each one. Again, grateful for all of your kind words, and I'm happy to answer comments or questions. Just be nice for goodness sake.